I don't have current numbers, but I did do some research to present to the legislators a couple years ago, based off of an OSU study. I believe it was published June of 24. It's a great study. I don't have those exact figures off the top of my head, but I can tell you one of the things that I do remember is that $70 million came out of the county revenue when the water was turned off for the ranchers.
Welcome to Shaping the Basin. I am here with Keri. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, so I've only been in the basin for about 9 years now. Prior to that, I lived in San Diego County, and grew up there from an aerospace family. So the base is very important to me here. What else? I mean, there's so much. I don't know where to start.
No, I think that's a great way to start. Actually, before this interview, we were talking a little bit. I was surprised that you've only been here 9 years because you're involved in so many things. And you said something
Oh,
about
yeah.
just getting involved. Talk to me about that.
So, yeah, I tend to dive in, as my husband says. I don't look first. And so um, I like to be part of the community. I like to be part of the solution. If there's things that need to be done, I like to be part of the new ideas, thought processes, and just doing the best that I can so that I improve the area that I am. And I'm not saying I have the ability to do that, but I'd like to think that what I do matters.
Yeah. And so one of the ways, I think the way that I actually met you was through Cattlewomen's.
Yeah. Funny story. I bought a cow
One
and
cow.
one cow. She was pregnant. So when my husband said I could buy one cow, I did that. And then I found the Cattlewomen's group and thought, oh, these people know how to take care of a cow. I will join. Little did I know that years later, I would be the current president of the Cattlewomen, and I would have a dozen cows and run a cow-calf operation.
That's awesome. What's one surprising thing you've learned about raising cows?
Um, they're loving and gentle. That's we raised chickens and goats before, and then the idea, my husband was like, cows are big. If they step on you, it's going to hurt. I'm like, well, let's give it a try. Why not? Dive in. Um, and they're gentle. And uh, I mean, my cows, because we only have a dozen, they're, we take care of them every day. We know them. I name them all. They come to their names.
Mhm.
And that surprised me.
Yeah. What does the Cattlewomen's do? I mean, besides helping you learn how to take care of the cows, what do they exist for?
Um, our our three goals are to educate, celebrate, and advocate. So what we do is a lot of education programs for students and adults. We co-sponsor the fourth grade Farm Expo. We do a field trip out to Yamsey Ranch. Have a booth at Benefit for the Basin, and we do beef education for adults and kids. We are in the classrooms in May during Beef Month, and we give out jerky and talk to the kids about how important beef is. We also raise funds for causes that affect farmers and ranchers. So last year, we raised funds during our Ranchers Gala to benefit the organizations that are fighting for the water in the basin, whether it's farmers or ranchers. We all need water, and there's a lot of trips to DC, a lot of paperwork, red tape that the organizations have to go through, and we wanted to help ease some of that, and so we raised funds for them.
Oh, that's
And then celebrate.
awesome.
You know, we just hosted the ranch run out at the Running Y. So it was a community event for people to come out, exercise, run, and then we hosted a celebration barbecue at the end.
That's very fun. And I know you have a big project coming up that you're involved in.
Oh, yeah, Klamath River Roundup,
Yeah.
PRCA triple circuit sanctioned rodeo coming to Klamath Falls. This year is our first year, June 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, as I also am a member of the Fair Board, non-voting member, which allows me to do other things and without conflict of interest. And so I was approached to ask if I wanted to join Friends of the Klamath County Fairgrounds, and that is who is putting on the rodeo.
Okay. And this is the first time that rodeo's been here.
Yes, it's a brand new rodeo.
How long has it taken to get this pulled together? How long have you been working on it?
Um, I'd say about 6 months ago, we said, let's do this.
Okay.
And pulled together an amazing team of people that have experience running rodeos, have experience marketing, have experience in various aspects of the business of rodeo ranching and organizations. And we have successfully been able to pull this together in less than 6 months.
That seems like a crazy timeline for how big
It
this is.
is. It really is.
Yeah. What has what has that been like? What's the experience of trying to get that here been like?
Um, a lot of new knowledge.
Mhm.
It is a lot of learning for me, not growing up in rodeos. I would go to the rodeo when it came to town in Southern California, but I did not grow up in a rodeo community or being a participant in rodeos. So we are lucky that we have people who have run rodeos and have the experience that they do in this town.
Mhm. Um, there's a connection. What talk to me about Miss Klamath?
Oh, so
We aren't talking pageants.
no, we are not talking pageant. We are talking Miss Klamath. She was one of the greatest bucking horses in existence. She is in the Hall of Fame, and there is one person who claims to have ridden her for an official time, but there's a lot of people who say that that ride didn't count. So um, she is our icon. She is who you will see on our Facebook page. You'll see her on all of our T-shirts and ball caps and everything that we'll have at the event. But she represents the strength and the power that this town has and the tradition of rodeo.
Mhm. Has it I want to talk about our town just a little bit. Has it been hard to become part of the community?
I would say when we first moved here, we we were greeted so warmly and welcome. I mean, it's like within the first week, we knew all of our neighbors. They had brought us pies. They, welcomed us. They helped us fix all the fencing. Um, so my first impression was kind and friendly people.
Mhm.
And then from them, we met more people and met more people. And then we started to meet several people from, our hometown. uh, Cannot believe how many people from San Diego County live up here. And like the dairy, we've known the dairy people since we moved up here, and several of the dairies originated in the little tiny town in San Diego County that I'm from.
Okay.
So that was like, wait, what? Your grandfather was my milkman?
That's
So
fun.
that is fun, and it shows you how interconnected rural communities can be.
Mhm. So, even though you were in San Diego County, I think of San Diego, but you were in a small town in that
Yeah,
county.
I was in I was in a small agriculture-based town.
Mhm. And your family was aerospace, is that what you said?
Yeah, my dad drove down to San Diego, so
Okay.
he had an hour drive every day,
Mhm.
and was in aerospace.
Oh, interesting. When you moved here, it was warm and friendly, inviting, and then you got involved in all of these different things, the Cattlewomen's and all the other stuff that you did. Was it? How did you get involved in those? You just called them and said, "I wanna be a part of it?"
Um, I was at an event and just started talking to them, and they're a lovely group of women
Mhm.
and very inviting. And I felt comfortable and started asking questions. And they're like, "You should join. We do all of this." And I had been looking for something to give back. I was with Callaway Golf for 25 years before I moved up here, and I was on the board of the Callaway Golf CG2, which was their community giving program. And so we did monthly events. And so that was missing when I moved up here.
Okay. Golf. Do you golf?
I dislocated my shoulder a few years ago,
Oh.
so I don't golf anymore.
But you used to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Is that what brought you here?
No, Geldwin brought me here.
Okay.
Um, Geldwin had a position that they thought that I would be a good fit for, and we chatted over a period of time. And I decided that I was done with the amount of travel that I was doing. I was done with the traffic in San Diego, and that this seemed like a good opportunity and someplace that I would like to live long term.
Mm, nice. So you came here for Jeld-Wen. That's funny. I talked to a lot of people. I think you and I talked about it just a couple of weeks ago, maybe, about how we need like a Jeld-Wen reunion for
Yeah.
everybody that worked at Jeld-Wen.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's fun. If people were watching this and they're new to the community or they're thinking about moving to the community, what kind of advice would you give them about getting involved?
First off, don't don't believe what you read on the internet or Facebook about this community. The community is what you make of it. And if you've lived any place other than here, you'll know that this is a wonderful community.
Mm.
This is still a family friendly community. This is a place where you can just decide, hey, let's go to dinner. You don't have to call and make reservations in advance. You don't have to plan it because it's going to take you an hour to get there and wait in line. This is, it's relaxed, it's comfortable, it is a gentle, slow moving, which is a nice thing,
Mhm.
um, friendly place to be, and get to know your neighbors. If somebody's talking, if you're standing in line at Home Depot and somebody starts talking to you about the project they're working on and what are you working on, tell them.
Yeah, that's fun. I want to bring it back to cattle for just a few minutes
Sure.
because I'm reminded of something you said before we got started about cattle being good for the environment.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started on that.
Well, let's
But
talk about that. I want to know because I think
um,
that's different than sometimes what people hear.
absolutely. And there's a documentary that if you have a chance to even watch small clips of it, it's called A World Without Cows. And we brought that to Klamath Falls. It was the first public viewing of that documentary anywhere in the world was here in Klamath Falls last year. It has a lot of the science-based facts and truths that people should hear. Cattle are incredibly important to the environment. The Dust Bowl would not have occurred if cattle had remained grazing that land. The fact that cattle were removed from the land and then the land was tilled for planting is what created the Dust Bowl.
I didn't know
That's yeah, that's something that people are like, "Wait." And then you start thinking about it and it's like, yes, cattle graze down, but they don't eliminate the grasslands. They graze it and they move on. So all of that nutrient rich soil remains intact.
that. Mhm.
They're also sequestering carbon, which is something that we need pulled out of the air and put back into the soil. They prevent forest fires by grazing in the rangelands. They're incredibly good for the environment and they eat plant material that we can't consume. They can graze on lands that we can't farm because it's too rocky, too hilly, or just not accessible for farming. So when you think about, the surface of the globe, there's only a certain percent that is actually farmable. There's a greater percent that can be grazed. So that's a huge benefit when you're talking about a protein food source that is nutrient rich, that we can consume,
Mhm.
and it's not taking away from farmland.
It's easy to get lost. Don't know which path to take, what to post. In the social media jungle, video is king. Your kids are obsessed, your customers are addicted, we're all hooked, and social media sites prioritize videos. So when you're ready to stand out from the crowd, reach out to 40 Deuce Films. Feeling over everything.
Do you have any idea how many cattle are in our basin, roughly? Like, is that something that's tracked?
Yes, I don't have current numbers, but I did do some research to present to the legislators a couple years ago, based off of an OSU study. I believe it was published June of 24. It's a great study. I don't have those exact figures off the top of my head, but I can tell you one of the things that I do remember is that $70 million came out of the county revenue when the water was turned off
Mm.
for the ranchers.
And that was specific to cattle
That
ranchers,
was specific.
not everything
$70
else.
million of, you know, community income was removed because people took their cattle, sold their cattle, shut down their ranches. And that's why we think water is important.
Right. The cattle that are raised here, are they sold here? They go other places around the world?
Both,
Okay.
both. The cattle that are raised here are highly sought after because our soil is nutrient rich and it creates great grasslands. It creates great forage for the cattle, which makes them healthy and happy. I mean, when you drive around the state and you look at our cows, and then I love the east side of the state, but when you look at the cows over on the east side of the state where it's drier and there's less nutrient dense food sources for them, you'll see a difference in that cattle. Our cows are beautiful.
Mhm. Is there a specific kind of cow that's most common here?
Angus. Yeah. Angus breed is probably the number one breed here in the county. Um, And there is no real difference in the meat between a red Angus and a black Angus. However, in the 70s, Black Angus restaurant told you that Black Angus was the best.
Marketing.
Yes.
That's funny. Uh, we also talked a little bit about, you've touched on it, but there's some real health benefits of
Oh, yes.
beef.
Yeah. Um, one of the statistics that I like to use is and the amount of quinoa that you would have to eat to equal the amount of protein to 2 ounces of beef is, and I want to say it's like 16 bowls. You'd have to eat 16 bowls of quinoa to get the same basic protein. Not all the nutrition, not all the zinc and iron and the other nutrients, but just in protein levels.
Mhm. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's a lot of quinoa.
that's a lot of quinoa.
When you were talking about going into the schools and teaching the kids about cattle, cows, and all of that, uh, locally, is there a need for that education?
Surprisingly, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really is. And I've been surprised every year when we do the Farm Expo how many kids get excited to be able to come up and like pet a cow or a calf and tell me how they've never been that close to a horse that they'd seen or a cow. And a lot of them, it's like they drive by and they see them in a field, but they don't get the opportunity to get that close. And they don't have somebody telling them like the history of the county and how, you know, cattle is probably it's usually one or two in the state as far as revenue for the entire state between like the ornamental plants or cattle.
Okay.
So it's a huge revenue generation source for the state.
Sure.
And you would think that there would be more information and education on it, but it's not.
And is that the kind of thing you're teaching the kids, is the economic impact?
Right.
What
The
other
the health benefits, the economic benefits, um, the land benefits, and the fact that cattle ranching it's land stewardship. It's animal husbandry and land stewardship. And it isn't just there's cows out there, they take care of themselves. No, you have to care for those cows. It's a 24-hour, 7-day a week job.
Mhm. So, do you ever talk about, like, careers with the kids that
Yeah,
just
yeah,
yeah?
we do, especially when we're talking about our scholarships.
Yeah.
So the Cattlewomen in Klamath County have 2 scholarship opportunities right now. There's the basic Cattlewomen Scholarship, which is for a second-year college student that is in a field of study that would benefit agriculture, and that can be anything from food science to diesel mechanics.
Okay.
So it's a wide range of opportunity. We also have a scholarship that we named the Gail Patton Memorial. Gail was a fantastic cattlewoman here in the basin, and also the pie baker that everybody remembers when you're at the bull sale. They're like, "Where's Gail's pies?" So we created a scholarship in her honor, and so the bake sale that we do every year at the bull sale, those funds go into the scholarship, and that one is for high school students graduating to be able to apply for a scholarship. And we ask that they have something in their life that's connected them with music because Gail was also a music teacher.
Okay. That's interesting. So, how long have you been giving away the scholarships? Have you guys been doing that?
So the Gail Patton Scholarship, I believe, is on its 3rd year.
Okay.
And the Cattlewomen Scholarship's been for decades.
A really long time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I I think there's probably people out there that don't even think about college and ag together,
Oh,
and getting a degree and going
so
into the
we
ag.
have several students that have gone into veterinary programs.
Mhm.
We have food science students. We have students that are in ranch management. So it's a business degree that's focusing on ranching. And, there's ranching, there's GPS systems, there's tagging on the cows, collars, and you can move them around fields. You have invisible fences. There's drones.
There's a lot of
There's a lot of
technology that can be
technology that
used.
can be used in ranching now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, do you ever think about, like, did you ever think you'd own cows and be this involved in cows back when you were in California?
No, no. I was lucky enough to have 4.5 acres in San Diego County, which is decent. I had 90 different fruit trees. I was part of the Rare Fruit Growers organization there. And so we were trying to save and bring back heritage fruit.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, I had 90 different fruit trees.
That's crazy.
It was delicious, though.
I bet. I bet you probably missed that a little bit.
I do. It was a year-round growing season. I had a garden year-round. I grew tomatoes year-round, and I started kind of a co-op where we all traded. So I had a friend who baked, and I had a friend who made kombucha, and I had a friend who had avocado trees. And so we started planning what we would plant in our gardens and what we would be doing. And then we created a trading sort of situation. I made goat cheese on a weekly basis. And so we would trade, and it was a great little community that we started, and it kind of grew into the Sustainable San Diego program. And that was for everybody that lived within the city limits of San Diego. They could suddenly be allowed to keep chickens and bees and mini or dwarf goats. So I got a dwarf buck to breed my full-size goats, and we raised mini milkers.
Okay. And did you use that milk to make the cheese?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Have you set up anything like that here?
No, because everybody does everything themselves already.
That's true. I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time today and all the ways that you've gotten involved in our community. So
Thank you.
thank you. And I'll let you do a little plug for the rodeo if you want for a
Oh,
second.
absolutely.
Tell them what day and what time to come.
Okay, so the rodeo is June 12th, 13th, and 14th. The 12th is a Friday night. Doors open at 5, performance starts at 7. Saturday is slack in the morning, and that's free. And then the performance starts at 7. Again, doors will open for ticket holders at 5. And then Sunday is a matinee. It starts at 1:30. Doors open at noon. Ticket prices, can I do that too? Okay,
Sure.
ticket prices are $30 on Friday and Saturday, $20 on Sunday, and that is a way for our organization to say thank you to first responders, to farmers and ranchers who feed and, provide for our community, and we're sharing that discount with the entire community on Sunday. I will also give a little plug out. You can cut it if you have to, but Sisters is sold out on Saturday, and we are not.
Very good. I think people should come here instead of sisters anyway. Just saying. Very good. A couple fun questions. If I gave you $250,000 to do something, make a difference in our community, what would you do with it?
What would I do with it? Um, Man, selfishly, I'd like to say I would replace the timer in the arena at the fairgrounds.
That sounds reasonable. And you are the first person that's ever said that on our show. I've asked everyone that question. Nice. Do you have a role model?
My father, and I tear up every time. He's still with us. He worked in aerospace. He was at the Cape for a number of years um, with Lockheed Martin and involved in the launches and everything. And at his retirement, his secretaries kind of got up and talked, and they all said one thing that we never knew as kids was that no matter what he was doing or who he was talking to, if we were to call him, our calls took priority. And his secretary told me that he was on the phone with the vice president of the United States, and the vice president was told to be put on hold while I could call and ask him a math question.
That's an awesome story. That's pretty cool. Way to go, Dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're gonna make me tear up. What would your perfect day in Klamath look like?
Oh, I'd start out kayaking in the morning, and then come home and do some gardening, and then go for a prime rib dinner.
Yeah. I do have to ask, how do you like your steak cooked?
Oh, as rare as I can get it.
All right. If you said anything else, I was going to question. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
And thank you to
I've
our
enjoyed this.
thank you. And thank you to our producer, 40 Deuce Films.